Check it out. Let me tell you one.
Freedom Hall!
What is up, my MMA brothers and sisters? Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk MMA. First, I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. Hopefully, you guys were very thankful and grateful, had a good time with your family and friends. And we're back with another show. Now, ultimately, with this live chat, I want the questions to kind of come in. I got my my good old thing right here just so I can take a look. And there's other types of videos that I want to make. They just kind of take more time. But truly, this is one of my favorite. The Let's Talk MMA. I invented that a long time ago just because a lot of my friends were busy with life and whatever else. And I would watch MMA and I saw the YouTube thing as a way to create something and talk MMA with fighters. And that's how I got things going. So talking with the fans, we've been commenting a lot, and that's just been really a joy. I love hearing your perspectives. You kind of give me things to chew on and just kind of see things a different way. And then it's just fun at the end of the day. Just like today's episode, what it's jam-packed of is answering questions. This guy versus this guy. Who's better? Who's going to win? How are they going to win? The storyline behind it. These questions that come up, we want to know the answers. And by having the fight, we get to find out. I'm a little bit, not even a little bit. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I love certain conspiracies. I think I've graduated my way up to some of the big ones. I won't bother you with that now. But in this talk and in this chat we're going to have today, there's definitely going to be some conspiracy talk because there's a lot of things that we don't know, we might not ever know, but your boy Rated has been watching MMA, UFC forever. And I even got I got my conspiracy shirt, the moon landing. I got my 25th anniversary beanie that I'm trying to break in. I've been watching this stuff for a long time, and there's little things that you kind of catch, little things that I end up kind of being right about. So either way, let's get this going. All right. Now, it's your boy Rated on the ones and twos. So let me get into our very first slide right here. All right. Now, there are a couple different fights. There was different news, but today I wanted to focus on the 155, the 170, web is what I'm basically going to be calling it. So much so, I had to freaking make this diagram. Now, thumbnails, they're tricky, right? You got to kind of make them attractive, this, that, and the other. I'm able to do it, but I swear it takes me more time making these type of slides and these pictures than it does to. I don't prepare for these. I just freestyle it. I know the topics or the fights or whatever, but I just freestyle it. So you'll probably see me because I'm truly just freestyling it. I don't have anything written. I'm a fan just like you guys. I digest a whole ton of this, and this is my way of processing it out with you guys. Okay, so let's get into this. And what's funny is I don't even know where to begin. So I'm going to do my best and answer a lot of these questions. There's been a lot of questions of, let's talk about this right off the bat. It's Khabib, Ferguson, fantastic fight. Biggest fight I can possibly think of. Biggest fight of next year as far as anticipated at the very least. Then we have Conor McGregor and Donald Cerrone. That's official now too. Starting off the year, January 18th with a bang. And then there's a lot of questions. Why is that happening at 170? We got Masvidal in the mix. You wouldn't really think so because he's not a lightweight anymore. But he is in the mix. We got Justin Gaethje because he deserves to be in this talk because there's two things that are kind of going on here, and I'm going to try to not only make sense of, but kind of break it down to what 2020 might look like. And it all depends on the fights. It depends on what happens. But let me try to keep inching my way through this. Now, the two different ways that the MMA game is played and the way that us fans like it, even though we kind of change our minds here and there. I love, and I'm right now I'm looking at Khabib, and I'm looking at Ferguson, and I'm looking at Justin Gaethje. I love the idea of there's the champion, the best of the best, the undisputed man at that division. And then you got all of your contenders working their way up. That I really like, because then it's truly finding out who is the best of the best, and the next guy that gets a chance at the title is the next best that we believe, right? Then you got superstars like Conor McGregor, who jump the queue. Some of us like that because he's a big star. We do like to watch him fight. I'm gonna go against him, pretty much almost every single time. But I enjoy watching him fight. He's an exciting fighter. I do find his thing entertaining, even though I feel like he's a friggin' a-hole. That's his kind of way of being in the sport. But the jumping of the queue sometimes I'm not a fan of. And this is another example of Conor kind of having his way. And that's why I threw in Justin Gaethje in there, because he's there. He deserves to be there. And honestly, after just kind of looking at the rankings, after the Ferguson fight, Gaethje should be that guy to fight Khabib. And not only that, I think Khabib, before he finishes, because he said he only has a handful of fights, really in this division, Gaethje would be the other person I say, you got to beat him too before you move along, right? Fight GSP is probably going to be the end of that story. All right, let's go over to Conor McGregor and Cerrone. A lot of the questions have been, why Cerrone and why 170 when Cerrone just went down to 155. Conor wants Khabib. That's at 155. So why? So let's go over to that fight. So first question, why Cerrone? Cerrone fixes a couple problems for McGregor. And y'all have to think of it this way. UFC wants whatever's good for McGregor. McGregor fighting is good for business. McGregor winning is even better for business. So they're gonna have to play around with this in a way where it doesn't seem like he's getting a tune-up fight. And in my opinion, Cerrone is definitely not that. But Cerrone's also not Tony Ferguson. He's also not Khabib. He's also not Masvidal, right? So all of these killers that Conor McGregor kind of is in his future as far as big fights are truly killers and guys that have, at the very least, beaten Cerrone already. So we're starting there. Okay, so Cerrone is a perfect guy. He's a name. There's great reasons for Conor to kind of slide back into the mix, especially since he wants to have this kind of busy year. And he has pretty good chances against him. We won't talk about that fight. That'll be for another episode, another moment. But that's why it's Cerrone. And why is it at 170? For me, it's pretty simple. Conor McGregor is putting his hands in the two cookie jars. Okay? Just by fighting, he's at 155. Even though he's not weighing in at that weight class, he's not fighting at that weight class, he's fighting another 55er and also another fighter in Cerrone that has also fought at 170. And by fighting at 170 and beating Cerrone, he could then call out Masvidal, which would then happen at 170. I really doubt it happens at 155. Conor needs big fights, and if he wants to be busy, I believe he's starting the year off with Cerrone. That's to get the ball rolling. If all goes well and he wins, call out Masvidal, have that fight, because Masvidal wants that fight. I'm going to get to Nick Diaz in a moment. Hold on. Gets to fight, and again, it'll make a little more sense. I have a different picture for you guys, but if Conor gets through Cerrone, maybe fights Masvidal in April when Khabib and Ferguson fight. Imagine that fight on the same card. Holy shit, that's a big fight. And if he was to get through Masvidal on the same night, he then can plan for the end of the year when Khabib comes back after his Ramadan thing to fight him at the end of the year. That is what I believe. Again, we're talking conspiracies. I'm just saying. Conor is that type of guy that he wants to set up everything in line. He can't get Khabib because, number one, it's really not a fight that should be made, and Khabib isn't gonna gift him the ability to fight him either. And who knows if he will in the future, right? But at the very least, Conor needs to build up to the potential to fight Khabib. Here's even another thing. Again, this is a web, guys. So I hope I'm not losing you, but I'm just trying to untangle it all with you. If Ferguson beats Khabib, okay, in April, and let's say Conor does or doesn't fight that day also with Masvidal, you better believe Ferguson will want to fight Conor. Again, everyone wants to fight Conor, so let's just assume that's true, because it pretty much is. The money, right? If Ferguson fights Conor and Conor happens to beat Ferguson, now Khabib has something, now Conor has something that Khabib wants and has forced Khabib's hands through the back door. Again, there's so many ifs, and that's what I love about MMA. I was a big WWF fan back in the day. WWF, right? When it became WWE, I'm out of here, right? WWF, it was all about entertainment. It was all about these matchups and the people that you wanted to see, and then the guy that you wanted to win lost, and so on and so forth, all the drama. But this is real life, and that's what I love about the sports. This is real fighting. There's zero guarantees. So as much as UFC loves Conor McGregor, if he loses, the show's over. Or not over, but you get what I'm saying. You cannot keep escalating the guy like he used to. So the man needs a win, and he needs to keep winning. I'll stop right there. Man, yeah, if you can imagine, man, and this video is probably not going to be that short. Okay, let's get in Jorge Masvidal. Okay, now, I want to see Jorge Masvidal versus Nick Diaz. Ideally, because of everything I just said, this is, January to April is what I've kind of been talking about, right, with these other fights. We're now in December. Masvidal just, he's healing his wrist or his hand or whatever the case. He needs time. Nick Diaz is starting to train. Not that he was probably super out of shape, but he's in better shape and needs to get in much better shape to have that fight. So this is where timing really changes. Let me give you the next photo. Give me one sec, guys. Holy shit. All right, give me a moment. Let me... Okay, there's a new image, but I see some chatter. All right, so Steelers, Respect 90. What's up? Conor beats Cowboy at welterweight. Ooh. So he can get more experience at the weight than fight Jorge. If Tony wins, he should move up to welterweight for another belt. I'll call you Steelers if you don't mind. Those are some great points. Let me keep moving, and right at the end, let's talk a little MMA. Let's talk a little bit about those fights, because I'm bringing up new stuff. Okay, so let me just go with this quick timeline, and this is my last slide. This is all I'm focusing on today, and Steelers, I'm right at you. And please, anything you guys leave in the chat, I'm gonna go through it all. Okay, January 18th, right at the beginning of the year, we got Cerrone versus McGregor. Now, again, we're going off of assumptions just like Steelers said here, there's no guarantees. Cerrone could beat him, and this whole plan that I'm making up for Conor, but I feel is fairly accurate, goes out the window. He needs to come up with a whole nother plan if Cerrone beats him, okay? But we'll just go with the assumption that Conor wins, because ultimately if Cerrone wins, He's going to take another next fight. That will be great and whatnot. But let's face it, the Conor return and him possibly winning is really what drives all of these other big fights. Cerrone isn't in the mix with Khabib. He's not really. He already lost to Masvidal. And Masvidal is like the new money fight. Masvidal, Conor, these are guys now that are above the actual belt holding. I'm not even going to really bring up Colby and Usman, but that fight is happening, and not that nobody cares, it's definitely relevant. Like I said at the very beginning, I like the best of the best to be the champion. So I want Masvidal to eventually get that chance. And if he gets wrestled to hell, hey bro, that's the way the sport goes. Anyways, I won't go that direction. Let's keep it moving. January 18th, we got that fight. Let's assume that Conor wins. Okay? April 18th, my birthday, our birthday, where we get this freaking awesome fight we've been waiting for. Khabib, Tony, happens. Okay? Now, the reason I bring this up is because these are facts. These two fights are facts, but we're talking about Masvidal. And is Masvidal, Nick Diaz possible? And the question is, if it's possible, when? When? Now, I could foresee if the Nick Masvidal thing happens for like February on its own, like its own big event, then maybe March, April, 2 months later, Masvidal, Conor. But that seems far-fetched, right? It seems so close because, again, you don't know how Masvidal is going to come out of his fight. Conor's going to have 3 months. He should be good for April. And that's a whole nother thing. Let's get up with the conspiracy. Leanne, what is up? If it is Leanne and you're a female or with the MMA brothers and sisters, you know there's a lot less MMA sisters, so welcome to you. Here's another question. There was a question that came up, which was, why is the Khabib Ferguson already booked? Now let's talk a little conspiracy here because we just don't know. We're speculating, right? It's 4-5 months away, right? Why is it already booked? UFC usually doesn't work that way. So there's probably a lot of speculation, but let's get the juice, right? The conspiracy kind of talk. I wonder if the whole idea is to book this fight so that come January 18th, Conor McGregor wins. He's already trying to get on that card. He gives him 3 months to get on that card. All he has to do is win the fight with Cerrone, call out Masvidal, and boom, it gets booked. Which then, overall, is telling me the Nick Diaz fight. What's up with the Nick Diaz fight? When? Where? How? Okay? But now as I'm talking this out, I am making some sense in my mind. So let me express that. If it goes down that way, so let's say April, Conor fights Masvidal. 3 months after that, April, May, June, July. Perfect. Now, Nick Diaz was talking about Cinco de Mayo. Considering what I'm talking here, I don't think that's going to happen. But what is already on the calendar, because it's on the calendar every single year, is July International Fight Week. Now, International Fight Week is always a big deal. And if you got Nick Diaz in Vegas, because it's always in Vegas, Jorge Masvidal, that's where it happens. I just figured that shit out right now. That's where Nick Diaz, Masvidal happens. That gives... Now, Masvidal, he's going to be putting in that work, but hopefully his hand isn't too bad. That gives plenty of time for Nick Diaz. That gives him, 7 months? 6, 7 months or so? 7 months, yeah, 7 to 8 months to prepare. Ooh, boy, I like that. So I think I'll end that there. Let me go back really quick to the first picture, and let's get to your questions and comments. So let's leave that there. I talked about Gaethje. At the end of the day, the guy deserves it, and maybe if Conor loses, Justin gets the next one, and we're gonna see that near the end of the next coming year, I assume. Masvidal, he's the new money guy. He wants that Conor fight. He wants a Nick Diaz fight, but he wants the biggest money And in that scenario, he gets both. Let's go. The whole Colby Usman, that's going to play a part, but we're going to have to revisit that if Colby wins. Because beyond that, it's only really the belt to fight Usman. Colby, same type of thing. Either way, let's get to your questions. And thank you guys for leaving these. This is what this is about. I like to talk to other people more than just myself. So Conor beats Cowboy at welterweight, so he can get more experience at that weight than fight Jorge. Yep, I completely agree with you. Cerrone, he wants red panty night, right? He wants to get paid, and win, lose, or draw, he gets paid no matter what. If he wins, fantastic. If he loses, we're still going to get excited for whatever other fight they throw him in, right? So he's in a win-win situation. Conor is in a win big, lose big situation. Okay, if Tony wins, he should move up to welterweight. So what's interesting about that is I haven't ever really thought of that, but you have a great point with that because he's already beat most of the guys at 155. So I could foresee though, and it will get interesting. I won't confuse it too much. But if Tony beats him, Khabib, a rematch is probably going to be highly talked about. Of course, it depends on how it goes, but more than likely it's going to be a really close fight. And if Tony wins, probably because it was a split decision, I don't really see a knockout happening, but we might see the rematch. And that's what will be interesting if Conor wins. If he can squeeze between there, it'll get a little messy there. Okay. I really want Nick and Jorge. What do you guys think? Do you think I made some sense? Maybe International Fight Week? Because again, if the fight's going to be big, it needs to either be pre-booked at a stadium like Nick kind of wanted. International Fight Week just makes the most sense just because it's a yearly big deal. It's in Vegas. They don't get taxed. That's always a bonus. So it just makes sense there, and timing wise. And that was the biggest thing about with this thing is I'm already foreseeing, at least in these divisions and these characters that are playing a part in it, of how it's kind of going down. All right. Do you think Nick beats Jorge? Do I think Nick beats Jorge? You're joking. Well, I didn't say would or wouldn't. That's definitely a great fight. But Nick has the ability to beat Jorge, that's for sure, and vice versa. I think Tony beats Khabib, doctor stoppage, or submission. Oh, you know what? That's another great point that I did not bring up. This is that fight, the Khabib and Ferguson, is happening in Brooklyn, New York. That is not a fan. I'm not a fan of that. I don't like that because yes, Ferguson is gonna have to be elbowing from the bottom. That's one big thing. I'll probably do like more of a breakdown of that particular fight, but I do see a lot of elbows. I see a lot of blood, right? And what's interesting is Khabib never really had. I think he got cut once. I forget what fight that is. Maybe the Ali Quinta. But yeah, and if it starts bleeding and they stop it for that reason, it's going to be controversy. That for sure will probably then be an immediate rematch. So that is one thing I didn't bring up that I don't like about that fight, that it's in New York. The submission part, I think it's possible. I think, of course, it's definitely possible. But I think the more it goes on the ground, especially in the later fights, dude, I'm telling you, Khabib has seen it. He knows what to do. A lot of people are like, oh, that Dustin Poirier, you know, kind of almost caught him. No. Like, it was a great attempt, but I just don't see it, man. He's fucking good. Like, he's truly at a level that is hard to comprehend. And only by seeing all of his dominating fights, which are all of them, you have to appreciate how good Tony is. Good, don't get me wrong. The different game plan is what I feel is what makes it interesting. But I don't know if it's going to be enough to actually beat him. Because remember, Khabib is a person that likes to take control and keep control. As long as he does that, he's winning the rounds and he wins the fight. I don't think he's going to do anything too crazy to go for the submissions. As Tony goes for submissions, that always leaves them open, which can only give Khabib the advancement. Khabib's a fucking beast, man. Okay. Tony is undefeated at welterweight. He's fought at 170 before. Hey, bro. That's a good point, man. That is a great point. How can Justin beat Khabib? So that fight, number one, just needs to happen because he's just one of those contenders that has beat big names, and he just deserves it. The whole late kick thing is definitely a great point to Gaethje's game that has affected almost every fighter he has fought, but that also leads into getting taken down, which kind of takes that tool away a little bit. His wrestling is what everybody wants to see, which is what I want to see. Justin Gaethje's wrestling is high level, even though we don't see it, but we don't see it because he always keeps it standing. But at 155, most people are stand-up fighters anyways. So so in a way, it's one of those things that Gaethje hasn't really had to fight against it. And you could train it all day long, but you're not training with Khabib. So I would still favor Khabib in that fight. It's just one of those fights I feel that needs to happen. Gaethje deserves of it. And if Khabib's going to clear out the division, Gaethje is one of those names that you need to get through. Because, dude, look at who did get through. Eddie Alvarez and Dustin. But how? By going through hell of a beating and just being tough as shit to make it to the other end. But Gaethje is going to give you the kitchen sink, and that's what we want, right? We want to see Khabib in the toughest fights. Okay. I would like a warm-up fight, Nick versus Conor. I don't see that happening, though. Hopefully Nick would win and then fight George. But I agree, though. I would love for Nick to have a fight first. But I just don't think his return needs to be big, is the way I sense he wants it, which is well-deserved. So, and then the only way to do that is with another superstar. And that's why I think he hasn't really fought, is because he doesn't want to come and fight a whatever name for a whatever paycheck. But the good news is, I do feel that as long as he has time to train and get prepared, we're going to see a good fight. Either way. Let's see what else you say here, Leanne. I don't know how that would go because Nick has been gone a long time. Yeah. No, you're right. But I feel like, again, the biggest thing that is great about Nick is that he's tough, right? Got a great chin. You don't need to train for that. It doesn't matter if you've been off. If anything, that's better because he's been off, that he's been able to fully heal and be strong-faced, right? If that makes any sense. And his cardio. Cardio, he needs time. He needs time to train. Hopefully he can get a marathon or whatever the type of stuff that he does, the cycling. So if he gets the time, would be good there. The skills, he's got to get the sparring. He's got to get the timing down. It's going to be a great fight, Leanne. Believe me, as long as we get time, and if, let's say it happens next July, and that's the other thing, too. They got to let him know, hey, this is the way we're foreseeing it, so that he can train with purpose and prepare for a date. Conor and Anderson Silva said they wanted a future super fight against each other. If it happens, it should be at 170. Oh, my God. When did they say that? That would be fucking nuts. Well, I know that Anderson has been saying that for a while, right? I mean, because Red Panty Night. Conor, I think he's just a fan, man. Like, I am gonna come off as a hater more often than not, but I do give the man respect, because if it wasn't for him, really the sport and a lot of different things wouldn't be happening for other fighters if it wasn't for what he did. Just like Ronda Rousey, I respect her. Gina Carano's the woman. She's the one. But Ronda took it to a whole nother level that gave so many women, an opportunity that they wouldn't have had otherwise. So Conor and Anderson Silva, I know that he would just do it because it would probably be a big deal-ish. He's a bigger guy, even though he's older, but he's bigger. He has the name of in the past, but that's just so hard. You know what? It happens if Conor loses Cerrone. How about that? If Conor loses Cerrone, he needs something just out there to make some kind of sense at that point. There you go. How about that? What do you think of that? Let's see. I would like. Yes, I like what you're saying. Thank you. Nick will always be my favorite fighter. I'm telling you, 209, baby. I would love to see him. Oh, really quick for whoever watches this, I'm not gonna make a big deal about this, but for y'all that are watching this, let it be known that I called out the schmo. Not negatively, but he called out the beta Ariel. He's a beta. He's not gonna do any of that. And I threw it in the comments in there. Respectfully, 209. What's up? I'll grapple you. I'll fight you. I'm down just for fun. There's nothing negative about it. But if you want to get some in, let's go. Let's go. Okay? Just for you guys, let it be known your boy Rated ain't no sucker. All right? Okay. How do you see Conor Silva fight going? You know what's interesting about that? Anderson Silva is long. He's a big, tall guy. And Conor fights long. But Conor being the master of distance, it would be fun. Because really, Anderson Silva should be able to kick him like crazy. You know, I would think it would just be so, not awkward in a negative way, awkward in the, you know, you got a small guy fighting a big guy. The big guy is older, slower. The small guy is younger and should still have that power. I think it would just be a fun fight. It would be hard for each of them. You know, they're both in a way counter strikers. So it would probably be a little not that exciting. I don't think it'll go to the ground, you know. So it would just be fun. It would be a little more of those freak kind of fights. I would think Anderson Silva should be able to beat him though. He's the bigger guy, should typically always win. Please let Donald win. I'm going for Donald. I really am. I'm going for Donald. Not only does he deserve it, but he's a great fighter, man. But Conor has great chances. He really does. Donald's always had trouble with southpaws. Conor hits hard. That's the thing, though. Those are the variables I didn't bring up. But Conor just had his hand surgery thing. You know, he's not motivated like he was. Supposedly he is now. But like, does he still have the power? Does he still have the pop? And is it enough to really put Donald Cerrone away? I mean, if he hits him in the body, you know, we know that he's successful there. But it's good. That's what I do like about it. It's going to be a good fight. I don't really know who's going to win that one. John Jones versus Francis Ngannou will be a good fight at heavyweight. Oh, my God. Well, check this out. So this week, and this was going to be, I could talk MMA forever if you guys can tell. But at the end of this week, we got Rosenstruck. He wants to fight Ngannou, and that would be super exciting. Obviously, he has a big test in front of him. But John Jones at heavyweight, period. I don't care against who, is super exciting. Ngannou boxing. That's some news that I've been hearing recently. That would be exciting. Woo! And you know, your boy Rated here is going to stay up to date with all this stuff. Keep it going on these live chats. Let me go ahead and call it here. I don't want to make the video too long, but to Leanne and Steelers, thank you guys for leaving your comments. That was definitely fun. I love hearing the questions, and it's a back and forth. Nobody truly knows anything, right? We don't know what is going to be the next fight, who's going to win the next fight, what UFC wants to do, what does this fighter want to do. But I love talking about it. I love speculating about it. I love finding out once the fights arrive. So I will continue to do these on Tuesdays. There's other videos that I want to continue to make. Let me know in the comments, what do you like about the show? What do you like about other people's shows? Like, what kind of content do you love? Is it the breakdown of fights? Is it the reactions? You just love talking MMA? But again, thank you guys for joining the chat here. Thank you guys for watching, for the liking and the subscribing. The subscriptions are definitely starting to go up, and I truly appreciate every single one of them. I'm going to be one of those guys that it's going to take me a while to get up there, but you guys, each person that subscribes, I'm telling you, even when it goes up one, I get super excited. I get super grateful, and if I have to work my ass off to make it up there, I'm no stranger to hard work. Thank you guys all. Until next time. Peace.